Hello, this is Basic Music Theory, Part 6C, a review of minor seconds, diatonic half steps, major seconds, diatonic whole steps, chromatic half steps, and enharmonics. It would be helpful if you click the links above for those worksheets so you can take a look at them. We'll be going over them as well as adding some new information. The video this week sounds a little bit different because I'm recording it in a slightly different way. There's a lot going on this weekend, and so I hope you'll bear with me with the slightly reduced audio quality. Good morning, guys. How's it going? It's a beautiful day today. I figured I'd mix it up a little bit and walk you through the last two assignments. I'll take you through a couple of the problems step by step, and then give you some instruction on the next assignment coming up. So, first thing is, in the YouTube description, there will be a link to a keyboard like this so that you have something that you can mark on. Next, there will be a link to, where'd that one go? This one's going to be very lightly edited, I promise. There will be a link to this, which is the beginning of an interval chart. And it will have a description of all of the intervals that you've hit so far, and we'll keep adding to this over the next couple of weeks. So, I want to go back to the diatonic half step. And on the diatonic half step, you have to remember that that diatonic means alphabetical order. So in order to determine that something is a diatonic half step, make sure that you have two letter names next to each other. So let's go ahead and do one of these. See, minor second is also called a diatonic half step. And the basic interval is a second, which is two letters that are next to each other, and it's one half step. So let's do a couple. So we have G up to A flat. And again, until we can recognize these intervals on sight, go ahead and start by finding C, and then work your way up. C, D, E, F, G. And it asks, G to A flat, is that a diatonic half step or not? So here's our G, and here's our A. So there's our A flat, G to A flat. The first question is it a second? Well, yes it is. It's a second because they're two letter names that are next to each other. And the next thing is it a half step? Well, here's the black key, which is your A flat. G to A flat is a half step, and it's yes. So if we've met both of those conditions, then it is a diatonic half step. Let's do the next one. C up to D flat. There's our C. There's our D flat. Is it a second? Is it diatonic? C to D is diatonic? Yes, it is. And is it one half step? There's your D flat. C to D flat? Yes, it is. So that would be a diatonic half step. Check to see if I'm bleeding through there. Take that off there so I don't have to worry about it. Let's do another one. B to C. Is it a second? B1, C2. Yes, it is. Is it one half step? Well, white key to white key is often two half steps, but in this case there's no black key. So B to C is one half step, yes, and since both conditions are met, it is a diatonic half step. Let's do another one. G flat to A flat. Here's our G flat, that black key. Here's our A flat. First question, is it a second? Yes. Is it one half step? There we go, 1, 2. No, it is not. So, in order for it to be a diatonic half step, it has to be a second, or is it diatonic, and is it one half step? Nope. Here we go with another one. C sharp up to D. Let's go up here. C sharp up to D. Is it a second? Is it diatonic? Yes, it is. C and D. Is it 1/2 step? Black key to white key right next to each other? Yes. So that's a diatonic half step. Then B flat to C. Here we go. Let's find one down here. Here's a B flat. B flat to C. Is it a second? Is it diatonic? Yep. Is it 1/2 step? Black key, white key, white. Nope, it's 2. So the answer is no. Okay. That's the explanation for diatonic half step or minor second. One thing that you don't know is that when I do those other videos, I do a lot of editing and I take out a lot of misspeaking. I also take out a lot of the breathing, which you don't really realize the amount of breathing that you catch in a really good microphone. So in places it sounded like an ASMR video. So I did a lot of editing there. Here we go. So now let's move on to diatonic whole step, which is also called a major second. Here we go. G up to A. So G to A. Is it a second? G to A, they're next to each other, letter names. Yes. G to A, yes. And how many half steps? 1, 2. It's 2. So the conditions for a diatonic whole step or a major second, diatonic whole step or a major second are that it's diatonic, it's a second, the letter names are next to each other, and it's 2 half steps. So in this case, the answer is yes. C to D. Is it a second? Is it diatonic? Yes. How many half steps? C, 1, 2. So it is a diatonic whole step. B to C sharp. This is going to be a tricky one. B to C sharp. Ready? Is it a second? B, C, yes. And how many half steps is it? B, 1, 2. 2 half steps. So that one's a diatonic whole step. G to A flat. So let's go G, A. So the question is it a second? Are the letter names next to each other? Yes. And how many half steps? G to A flat is just 1 half step. So this does not meet the conditions. It has to be both a second and it has to be 2 half steps. We're going to slide down here to a more difficult one. Oh, I don't see it. So we're going to make up a difficult one on our own. We're going to go G flat to G sharp. Ready? G flat is here to G sharp. So it's these 2 black keys. Well, we're going to answer the second question first. How many half steps? Ooh, it's 2 half steps. So you go, hey, that must be a whole step. And here's the thing. It's not a whole step because we don't change letter names. G to G flat, it's not a second. This is what would be called a unison. So it is not a second. And this has a fascinating name. This one's called a doubly augmented unison. G to G would be a unison. G to G sharp would be either a chromatic half step or an augmented unison. G flat to G sharp would be a doubly augmented unison. Now you don't really need to know that right now. I just need you to know that this terminology exists. We're going to go up here and do one more. B flat to C sharp. B flat, let's find one that's not taken up. Here we go. B flat to C sharp. So the question is it a second? Well, B to C, yes it is. And how many half steps? Well, let's start. Here's B flat and we count 1, 2, 3. It's 3 half steps. So it is not a diatonic whole step. This would be, it's not, this one would be called an augmented second. It's a second with 3 half steps. Again, you don't need to know that, but I need you to know that this stuff exists. And then later on, if you're confronted with it, there'll be that thing in the back of your head tickling your brain going, Sync Major said something about this. So I hope that helps with the minor second and the major second. Now, here is the next assignment coming up. This one's interesting. Here we go. Ready? This one, you have to decide whether it's enharmonic, whether it's a half step, and then when it's a half step, which flavor of the half step is it? Is it chromatic half step or a diatonic half step? Or whether it's a diatonic whole step. Remember, the enharmonic is 0 half steps because it's the same note. A half step is 1 half step, and then the diatonic whole step is 2 half steps. So we have to decide which one of those it is. So let's go ahead and we'll do the first 2 together, and then I'll make up some. D sharp to E flat. So again, there's your C, there's your D, there's your E. D sharp and E flat. Well, that's the same key, same pitch, different name. So in this case, this would be enharmonic. Let's do another one. G sharp to G. Here's F, G, G sharp to G. That's a half step, okay? Now, did we change letter names or not? We did not change half step, or we did not change letter names. So if the letter name remains the same, that would be a chromatic half step. Let's do another one. Let's do D to E flat. D to E flat. That's 1 half step, and we change letter names by 1. So this would be a diatonic half step. We'll do another one. F sharp to G sharp. There's an F sharp right here. There's a G sharp right there. Well, we have 2 half steps, and the letter name changes by 1. Great, so that must be a diatonic whole step. Let's do another one. E flat to F sharp. There's our E flat, there's our F sharp, and it's diatonic, it's E and F. But how many half steps is it? Remember, on half steps, you don't count the note on which you start. So we have 1, 2, 3 half steps. Well, we're not dealing with anything that's 3 half steps, and that's neither. So here's a bit of a stretch. If a minor second, see how I made it curvy and half the size of the 2, is a second with 1 half step, and a major second, see how it's got the pointy top and the same size as the 2, is the second with 2 half steps. This E flat to F, we have 3 half steps. E flat to F, F sharp, sorry, E flat to F sharp is a second, but it has 3 half steps. Based on what we did on this, can you tell me what type of second this is that's bigger than a major second? See, it's a second that's 1 half step bigger than a major second. That would be an augmented second. And then I'm going to give you a super challenging one here. Ready? We are going to go, let's see. E flat. No, let's not do that one. Let's do this. A sharp to B flat. Now, you might be saying that is enharmonic, and you would be correct. You would get credit on this assignment for saying that A sharp is the same as B flat. You would absolutely get credit for that. But here's a kind of a stretch of a question. A to B is a second, and it's 0 half steps. Can you guess what that interval is called? The enharmonic, where you change the letter name by 1. That would be the diminished second. Notice it's a lowercase d because it's a small interval. We often use the degree sign right there, and that gets us the diminished. So you have majors, minors, augmented, and diminished, and there's one other type of interval which we haven't gotten to yet, and that's called a perfect interval. But that's coming up probably next week. Hope that was a great help, and I miss you guys terribly, and we're looking forward to getting back together and doing great work for the community again.